Hello, welcome to John's Author Diary for the week ending October the 10th, 2021. I've had a crazy busy week. I wrote 3 chapters for A Murder of Crows. This doesn't sound like much because it isn't. On Tuesday, I got Black Death Survival back from my editor, so I'm now doing everything I can to launch this book. This has meant doing a final listen to the book using a text-to-speech reader. I've written a book description, then I wrote it again, then I wrote it again and again. I got the paperback formatted, the ebook formatted, the pre-order set up. I set up auditions for the audiobook edition. Started arranging cross promotions with other authors and running ads to get people interested in the book. I've sent the book to my review team and I've put a call out in my newsletter for more reviewers. I'm using this to test out my method for when I launch Dawn of Assassins. So because the main disadvantage with Black Death Survival from a sales and marketing point of view is it is a standalone novel, it's harder to make my money back from advertising and promotions when there's only one book to sell. So I need to be very careful so I can get this book selling and hopefully sticking in the Amazon charts. I want a lot of organic sales on this one if this one's going to work. Have to say, the post-apocalyptic audience are much more defined for me than my fantasy one. It's a lot easier to reach the right readers, to target the right readers. I know who this book is for. So I'm looking at getting this book out by Halloween. It's the perfect time for something dark and gritty. I'm sure you'll agree. I did have the morning off on Wednesday to go to Cleveleys on the Lancashire coast. Coastline there is quite surreal. It reminds me of something from a sci-fi movie, and my wife says that the cafe there is being used in some Star Wars thing or something, and I can see why. It's definitely got that otherworldly feel to it. I did have to go there because I've had to go and get my travel jabs for Egypt. For some reason, our local NHS aren't doing them at the moment, so I had to go private. And the nearest place I could do it was near Blackpool. So, we took that trip and it did the job. Got jabbed in the arm, 4 different things. Feel like I was punched, but it was fine. Didn't have any after symptoms or anything like that. Side effects. That's what I'm looking for. So it does look like the trip is going ahead. Everything, if we were to go today, would be fine. I can't bring myself to get that excited because our government has flipped around so many times on the rules on travel and things like that that it's hard to hold anything as certain. So I'm hopeful that it will happen, but I won't believe it until I am getting off the plane at Cairo. So we'll see how that goes. This week, I've been reading a few books. 2 are still ongoing. There's Mythos by Stephen Fry, which is basically a retelling of a bunch of Greek myths. Mythology has always fascinated me, so I'm very much enjoying this. And it's read by him on Audible, so that's always good too. I've also been reading The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. I like RJ. He's a really good guy, very funny, very friendly. I interviewed him a few years back for the Stop Booking Around podcast, where we talked about writing fight scenes. His books are great. I bought this one when it came out a few years ago, but I've been holding back until the full series is out. So now that the trilogy's there, I can just listen through to the whole thing. I'm about halfway through the first book, and it's nautical fantasy with ships made from the bones of sea monsters and things like that. Great writing, great characters, world building is just off the charts. I also read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, or Baum, I don't know how you pronounce it. This was great. It was quite different to the film, and I love the film, but I actually preferred the story the way it was told in this book. We don't have what I saw as a big plot hole in the film, which is why didn't the Good Witch tell Dorothy that her shoes could send her back home when they first met. I know because of the story they needed her to learn or whatever, but because the North Witch doesn't get introduced until near the end of the book, it makes more sense. So it's definitely worth reading. There's some really cool stuff with the Emerald City, like what is the Emerald City? Where you go, you have to put on these green glasses, and all of a sudden it's an Emerald City. So there's different stuff going on in it. There's some weird kind of dystopian sci-fi elements that aren't really in the film. So it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't done that before. So next week, I'm going to continue preparations for launching Brat Death Survival. I've got a to-do list as long as my arm, but it'll get done. And then I'll be able to get back to writing A Murder of Crows. Have to say, I am looking forward to being able to focus on one project. I haven't really been able to do that. I've always had something else lingering in the background. So this will be the first time I've had a single project to focus on. Now, will that work or will that be a detriment? I don't know. Maybe I work better when I've got to balance a few different things and feel like I'm spinning a few plates. So who knows? It's an experiment. It's always good to see what works best. Maybe I'll end up having to write something else as a parallel thing, maybe in a different genre. So who knows? Maybe I haven't done with post-apoc. We shall see. So until next time, cheerio.